We are no longer safe anywhere. Here's why, and what you can do about it. Oh, classic clickbait title, you say. Actually, it's not. This is a fact. It's a hard reality of the world in which we live today. Why are we not safe? Why are we not safe anywhere? You guys live out in the country. Isn't that a safe place to be? Listen, here's why, literally. It's two things. Number one, and this is what has made our entire nation more dangerous, no matter where you are, whether you're out in the country or if you're in the cities. The decriminalization of crime is one of the biggest things. Just to touch on this briefly, because you know what I'm talking about, and typically in the past, these sorts of things wouldn't have affected those of us who live out in the country, but they do now, and I'm going to explain why. So, several years back, I think it started in San Francisco, they determined that they would decriminalize what they call petty theft, in that if you were to steal something from a store, in the past it's been called shoplifting, but I guess that term, whoever changes terminology in modern pop culture felt that was offensive, to call somebody who stole stuff from a store shoplifting, So I don't know, they started calling it helping themselves or something. So if anybody helped themselves to an item or a product in a store, and this is fact, say San Francisco, the city of San Francisco, and the value of that item that they helped themselves to was less than $950, it wasn't legal. Now listen, they didn't legalize theft, they just decriminalized it if it was less than $950 in value, which basically means they're not going to prosecute it. So a lot of folks who were helping themselves began helping themselves even more when that happened. So shop owners all over San Francisco started locking up the most stolen items. So they pay money for glass cases, they pay money for locks, because people would literally walk into the store, grab that big old case of beer, because that's what they wanted, and they just walk right out the store. And if you said, hey, you can't take that, you got to pay for that, they'd be given the one-fingered form of sign language. You can probably pick which finger, and then whoever was taking would just walk out the door. And eventually, these folks that like to help themselves would begin helping themselves to things that were quite more costly than just a case of beer. They knew that this de facto decriminalization of shoplifting, helping themselves, was now working in their favor. So soon, shop owners had to lock up practically everything. Now, and this happened years ago when this new legislation came into place, 50% of the shops in downtown San Francisco are out of business because profit margins on, for example, convenience store items are so small. They can't afford to take the loss, for one thing. And then once you start throwing so much money into safety cases, glass cases, locks, you're losing money even if you're selling at your maximum profit level because the profit margin is so small. So they were out of business. Okay? And this is spread. I live down here in Central Virginia. Most of you folks know that. I have a good friend who's from New York, New Jersey actually, but he's lived off and on between Jersey and New York. But he's a corporate guy. He works for a large financial corporation, and he does a lot of traveling. Sometimes he's down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sometimes he's out in Chicago or St. Louis. And about a month or so ago, he actually was in New York City on a business conference. And this was the first time he's been in New York City for about 5 years. So when he came back, I was talking to him and I asked him how his trip to New York was. He says, man, I can't believe how much everything's changed. I'm like, in what way? And he told me a story about how he needed toothpaste. He just needed toothpaste. And rather than calling the, concierge at the hotel, he was in a really nice place, and asking to send up some complimentary toothpaste because he had forgotten his, he decided he'd just go out and buy a small travel tube size tube of toothpaste to get out, to get some air. So he went to the closest corner market, walked in, and he said even the toothpaste was locked up. He had to ask for assistance to buy a $4 or $5 tube of toothpaste. It was New York. Maybe it was $6 or $8. I don't know. And so he was talking to the shop owner, and the shop owner was telling him it's just not worth it to be in that business anymore. And he was trying to figure out what business he was going to go into next. And my buddy was like, why do you have to lock up toothpaste? And the shop owner said, man, it is a nightmare up here. All these folks, they bust in from Texas and other places, you know, they're putting them up in nice hotel rooms. They're giving them phones. They're giving them money. Basically, they're sending a message, hey, welcome to the land of the free-for-all. And a lot of these folks, and this is according to this shop owner who's had this experience multiple times, these folks would just walk into the shops and help themselves to whatever it was they needed, because our very government has pretty much painted the picture for them that that's how it's done here. So my buddy told me that he's glad he moved down here to Virginia when he did several years back. But here's the deal. This whole idea that, you know, if you're out in the country, you're safe or you're safer isn't quite so anymore, especially in my particular area. Now, when I made a video a few days back about how the joint here was being cased by a delivery person, I talked about the demographics of the area. I talked about how there are actually very few country people out here in the country where I live who actually live country lifestyles, as in they have any form of livestock, grow and raise their own food, hunt, fish, burn wood to stay warm. There's mostly yuppies out here. And people blasted me. And again, some of these yuppies, I'm friends with some who actually do kind of get into that country lifestyle. Some of them do very much own firearms, and they very much do know how to use them, and they enjoy using them. So listen, don't think that all households of yuppies out here in the country are safe targets, those of you who like to help yourselves, because they're not. It's really like you're playing Russian roulette. You come out here and you see a house which clearly belongs to a yuppie, and you think, oh, there's a soft target, let's get that one. Okay, but those types are few and far between. There's a lot of yuppies out here who are, you know, we're outside of Charlottesville. The area considers itself to be progressive. It's like a little blue speck in the sea of red, which is the state of Virginia. There's two little blue specks, Charlottesville and Northern Virginia, Loudoun County. And that's why they pull the national vote, because there's a heavy, very high population of blue-minded folks up in Loudoun, Northern Virginia, around D.C. But a lot of the folks, the yuppies around here who have moved out to the country, they're not country-minded people. They do not live country lifestyles, and they do not believe in firearm ownership. They do not support the Second Amendment. They believe firearms should be banned. No one should have them. They are the soft targets because they are the ones that are delusional. Now, here's a brief history lesson for you, and this will explain why even in the country, if you're one of those folks that think like that, you're not safe. You're not safe. So the criminals know how you think. People blasted me. What I was getting at is they blasted me in the comments. They said, wow, way to let everybody know you got all those unprotected yuppies out there who don't have firearms because they don't believe in them. You're setting them up to get criminalized, you know, by the criminals. No, the criminals already knew. I didn't tell anybody anything in this area that nobody didn't already know. So the problem now is that with the decriminalization of petty theft, as they call it, the criminals have become more brazen. Now, let's take a look at the generational locals who have been out here in the country for generations and who do live country lifestyles. Most of them, they're not any safer now than the yuppies, because most of them do not have gates on their driveways. They would never put a gate there because their neighbor from 4 miles up the road might decide to drive up and spend 3 or 4 hours chewing on the fat with them. And that's just country life. So that's why those gates aren't there. I'm talking about folks who've been out here. I mean, I saw them casing a joint across the road. They've been out here since the 1950s. Gentleman was born in the 1950s. So he was out here in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, it was a different world. It was different times. Now, a lot of the generational country folks didn't like it when the yuppies started coming out here in the 1970s. That's when it began happening. It was the people who were formerly hippies, okay, in the 60s, but Vietnam was over. They finally got their 3 or 4 degrees, took every class they could take at the university to avoid being drafted. It was called the gentleman's deferment. Remember, during the Vietnam War, if you had the money to go to college, you did. If you didn't, you ended up in Vietnam. So they had their degrees, the war was over, their fear of getting drafted was gone, so they decided to get their hair cut, bathe, you know, stop wearing patchouli oil, And they wanted to kind of come out here because they were still kind of in that return to the land mindset. So they came out and set up shop, didn't really make it with a return to the land with their hopes and aspirations, because they found out that it requires hard manual physical labor. However, they benefited because the land values out here skyrocketed. So a lot of those folks out here are now literally millionaires, multimillionaires, simply because of the value of their land has gone up. Now, being that they're yuppies, what do yuppies do when they get equity in their properties or in their homes? Correct. For years, they would take out home equity, or they'd go out and maybe get a second mortgage just to pull out some cash. Now, what's very popular is home equity lines of credit, or a HELOC, where you basically walk into the bank. They say, "Yep, you got $200,000 or $500,000 in equity. We're going to let you have access to 90% of that." So what's 90% of $500,000? $450,000. They give you a debit card. I mean, there's programs out there. So you're at whatever. Where do they like to shop? Whole Foods. What's that place I don't go into because of all the Karens? Costco. You might have seen that video from a couple weeks ago. And just, wow, look at that. 12-foot tall, $2,000 Christmas tree. That would look great in our foyer. Swipe it on the HELOC. So they still accumulate all that stuff, okay? Now, what's interesting is that the generational locals feared that the yuppies coming out were going to just ruin the area. They actually had a saying around here, because when the Civil War, 90% of the Civil War took place within a 90-minute drive of my home. But in our little community out here, the Civil War was never out here as far as any battles go. So the locals' saying was the yuppies are going to destroy what the Civil War never touched. Well, they got past that. They got over it. They found quickly that yuppies are pretty harmless folks. They have a tendency to stick to themselves. A lot of it is because they're scared of pretty much everything. I mean, they're scared of sunlight because of UV radiation, so they don't want to be out between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m., that kind of thing. And they're generally pretty good at leaving other people alone. So the local was like, yeah, okay. So still, no need to put up a gate, because they didn't have to worry about these yuppies coming up the driveway to chew the fat with them and tell them, dumb Southerners, how they're supposed to be living, of course, because a lot of the yuppies came down from the Northeast. But here's the problem, and this is why even the generational local country folks are no longer safe and probably want to think about putting up a gate. With the legislation that has decriminalized so much crime, the criminals in the city, a lot of these yuppies, especially a lot of the progressive-minded yuppies, left the city because, hey, they're all about equality and everybody's the same and equal rights, and but gee, it's amazing how they didn't want to live around so many people in certain different demographics, right? So they come out here to get away from it. Well, because of the decriminalization of so much crime, those folks that they're trying to avoid by living in the country, they are now coming out into the country after them. Because as they tap into that HELOC to buy all their stuff, because yuppies typically are very consumeristic, they're materialistic. So they've got all this stuff, and these delivery guys are going around seeing it. It's like, whoa. And, when they see, we just had a presidential election. There's a lot of signs up in yards, or there were a lot of signs up in the yards about a month ago. And let me tell you, anybody who understands demographics can clearly tell by which political candidate signs were in which yards, which houses would be the softest targets, if you're picking up what I'm laying down. So there you have it. The two reasons, primarily, as I see it, and as the statistics are showing, that we're no longer safe anywhere, is because of de facto decriminalization of crime, letting the criminals help themselves and get away with it, because we don't want to hurt their feelings by prosecuting them. And we understand, well, they're disadvantaged, so, they kind of have a right to, take what might not be theirs, unless they're taking it from you. And then, of course, you'll go out in the country to try to get away from that activity, right? Well, the activity's followed you, and now it's here. And even the generational locals, it's not about, worrying about a yuppie coming up your driveway to tell you how you're supposed to live, you dumb Southerner. It's about, these guys are coming out, they're casing the properties. We're no longer safe. So there's things we can do to prepare. There are only so many things that I can talk about here on this social media platform in regard to that preparation. One of the big things I'm going to talk about today specifically is security cameras. After that experience that I had with that delivery person casing out the property. And even though I already have cameras everywhere, I decided it was time to increase my measures a little more. So we have now padlocked the gate. It will always remain locked, whether we're here or not. And I've gotten some more security cameras. There's a company called Zeeker, or iZeeker, who's been courting me for some time on the channel. We have so many sponsors on this channel. Not going to name them right now because this one's for iZeeker. Okay. Listen. I finally emailed him back. I said, hey, you guys have been courting me for a while. I can appreciate your persistence, and I actually do have a need now for some of your products. So send me what you're willing to send me. I'll read the owner's manual, figure out how to use them, do a demo video for my viewers on this channel, because we've literally been getting like 2,000 new subscribers a day just in the last week because of this concern. Most folks, at least that follow this channel, are aware of what we're facing. Even though a lot of the folks who think everybody in the world just wants to sit around holding hands and sing kumbaya with each other still have their delusional heads in the sand like an ostrich. Okay, whatever. This is for the folks who want to amp up their security. So they sent me 2 different cameras, so I'll be making 2 different videos about this. But this particular camera, I'm going to show you what it is, how it works. I'm not going to waste your time by video recording myself actually installing it where I'm going to put it. What I'll do when I do demo videos is I'll have the camera with me, and if I get to any parts of the installation that are actually difficult, or maybe the instruction manual doesn't explain well enough, I'll record and I'll point it out to you. But if we have no problems with it, I won't even do that. I'll just show you the product after it's been installed and talk about how most likely easy it was to do it. So I spent 2.5 hours today putting this thing together, and it's simple. I just wanted to be thorough. And it does come with a very thorough instruction manual. And I only had to enlist the help of my 13-year-old Gen Z son once. And it came with internet connection. I'll get to that when I get to that point. But let me show you the camera first, and I'll show you all the stuff that comes with it. And I'm going to do this in like 2 minutes or less, because again, this was about bringing you to the understanding as to why we're not safe anywhere. This is one of the things you can do about it. Okay, it's a beautiful camera. Look at this. It's motion. This model is their. This is the iZeeker IG500. They also sent me the 220. I'll do a video on that one here in a few days. But I like this one because it's a rotating camera. It's got 360-degree rotation detection or detection monitors on it, and so it can rotate and capture everything. Multiple lenses. Seems like a very high-quality product. You can connect it to your phone, which I've done. Oh, there's my phone making this video. You'll have to download an app, and it's explained. I'm 51, and listen, the first time I ever had a class, I was a senior in college. They made us take a class on this thing called the internet that was coming out. And I remember saying, who's ever going to use this? Well, now because of that, I have the life I live because of the line of work I'm in. It's amazing. But my point is, I didn't grow up with technology. I'm not very technology savvy. This was so easy to understand. So the first thing you have to do before you put in any SIM cards, which there's a SIM card and some other card with some different initials on it, you have to charge it, and it comes with a charging USB cord. Okay, it took me a minute to find where the charging port was, so I'm going to show you. On this part of the contraption here, you just remove that, and that's the charging port. So I simply plugged this end into this, and then I had it plugged into my laptop while I was working this morning. I wrote and edited for about 2 hours on something I'm working on. So you have to get it charged fully. When you have it plugged in, there will be a red light. But once it's fully charged, the light will turn blue. So then you know it's charged. So you take it away, and then it comes with a SIM card that has, I think it's 300 megabytes. This is a trial plan. You insert the SIM card. Let me show you where, because it took me a few minutes to figure this out. Look at the camera this way, then go back right here. See this little rubber cover here? You take this off, and this is where pretty much all the operation from the camera takes place. So from your view, this little black part, which would be on your right, that's the one over on the left. That's the actual SIM. Yes, that's the SIM card, the one on the left. Okay, and then there's there's a storage card on the right. You simply shove those in, I had that backwards. I told you upside down. The SIM card is the white one. It's on the right when you hold it this way, okay? Holding it this way, the SIM card's on the right, the storage card's on the left. The on-off switch is right here. Now you have to push it and hold it down, and when it comes on, that blue light will come on. I'll demonstrate because this is fully charged. Listen, you can hear it come on. Oh yeah, it's on. See the lights coming on. It takes it, 20 or 30 seconds to fully boot up, but when it does, that light will start flashing blue. Now, see it's turning blue? Yeah, there we go. See that? Red, blue, red, blue. When it's blue, that means you know you've got to charge. Now, when you first use it, you have to charge it with that cord as I showed. However, once you install it, you connect it to a solar panel that comes with it. And this is the solar panel. So, and it comes with the mounting bracket that you put on your fence post, on a tree, wherever it is you want to mount it. But it comes with all of this stuff, okay? Pretty quality products. This camera on Amazon, I looked just before I came out to make the video, as of this recording, costs $89.99. And again, this is a sponsored video. I get this product for free. When I show products in my videos who sponsor me, I receive free units of the product, and depending upon the sponsor, often other compensation, okay? So full disclosure. Now from here, okay, so you've got it turned, it's powered up, you've charged the battery, you put the SIM cards in, you've turned it on. Then you have to download an app. There's a QR code for the SIM card, which is easy, which will get you in for the SIM card. I chose a plan that I think it's $15 a month every month, so it's like pretty much I don't have to worry about running out of storage. They have other plans that are pricier, so if you have more traffic coming and going in your property and you're using too much storage, you can up your plan. And then, okay, I used my phone. I'm remembering the steps I went through. I used my phone to connect this camera to my phone. There's a QR code here. Okay, so there's an app, and in the owner's manual, it will tell you that there's QR codes you can scan to download the app. I think it's called U-Box. Yeah, it's called the U-Box app. So you download the U-Box app. Once you have that app downloaded on your phone, and we actually have high-speed internet out here in the country now, middle of nowhere. I guess the yuppies complained long enough for it. I mean, we had like the slowest thing for years. I didn't care. It worked, but I do appreciate, them feeling as if they were entitled to the best there was out there, and because they got it for us, hey, thanks. But connecting this to the app, once the app was downloaded, here's the thing. We have 5G now. You've got to connect this at 2.4, and a lot of you might have known that. That's where I had to enlist the help of my 13-year-old Gen Z son. He had to take my phone and go, gosh, Dad, here. But then I made him explain to me what it is. You basically go into your phone settings and click on the lower frequency connection until you connect this to your phone. Then you can go back and switch back to your 5G. So we did that. It took like less than a minute. And next thing I know, I started getting all these dings on my phone because the camera was like watching me and my son there doing this. It's probably doing that right now. My app's probably giving me all these alerts. So then you can go on the app and actually watch what's going on from the camera. And it does have like a voice system. I can talk. Let's say somebody's at the gate where this is going to go, and they're saying, hey, Crazy Lake, I just came out to see you and I forgot to call. Sorry. Or if they text, I'm at the gate. I'll hear it on my phone, and I can talk on my phone and talk back to them way down at the gate and be like, hey, I'm sending my 13-year-old Gen Z son down with the key to let you in. He'll be right there. Thanks for stopping by. Or I might say, dude, you should have texted because I'm in the middle of something I can't just get up and walk away from. Text next time. But either way, I don't have to get up. I don't even have to stand up out of my chair. So at this point, I'm going to stop this video. I'm going to go down there. I'm going to mount it. What I do, again, when I do the demo videos, I time myself so I know actually how long it takes to do it. So I'm now going to go down there and find out what's involved with that. Is it difficult? I'll tell you something I like already as far as the mounting goes. It comes with these little stickers. And gosh darn it, I left it in the house. I'll go get them. come with these little like stickers you peel off and you stick to wherever you're going to mount it, and it has where you're supposed to drill the holes. So it's like you don't have to sit there and mark it with the pen. It's really great. So let me go get those stickers, mount this thing, and I'm going to let you know how it all went. All right, guys and girls, now as I said I would do, I'm going to provide a little bit of troubleshooting instructions for you. Oddly, this owner's manual, as great as it is in pointing out how to set the camera up, put it together, charge it, do the SIM cards, connect it to the internet, there's no mounting instruction. So it took me just a couple of minutes to figure it out. And I'm going to walk you through it right here real quick. So here's the solar panel. It has this mount that you simply screw onto the back. So I had to screw that on. And then, of course, this will be mounted somewhere like on a tree. And again, please forgive the background noise. We're down close to the road. That's the purpose of this. Make sure we see who's coming and going. Okay, so that's how you attach the mount to the solar panel. And then the cord comes out. And this is now what's going to charge your camera. Remember, charge it with your laptop or whatever USB port inside the house originally, but then after that, let the solar power take care of it. Now, this is the mount that will actually go on the camera. You see, it's going to slide right in there. I already put it in there, and I took it back out because clearly you have to mount this to the tree or the fence post, and then you slide it on. So that's how it goes. You're going to have 2 sets of screws for both. So there's your troubleshooting information for that portion of it. Now let me actually mount it, see how long that takes, and see how easy that is, and then I'll give you an update. Okay, it was just as easy as I suspected. Okay, when you got your cord plugged in there that goes to the solar panel, you'll see that blue light come on. Now I'm going to go back up to the garage and get my drill and come put those screws in there further. This old locust is almost petrified, so it's a good spot to mount it. But all you do is you screw the 3 screws in to mount the solar panel. The solar panel is adjustable, so you can always come around and redirect it to face directly towards the sunlight. I put the mount for the camera itself here, and from here we're just going to slide it on. Sorry, I'm doing everything one-handed. Let's see how easy this is. There we go. Look at that. Make sure you see that. You just slide it up. Slide it in. You hear it click into place. Again, 360 rotation motion detector device. Solar paneled. Charge it up first time inside with USB. After that, the sun's going to take care of the rest. And we are now just that much safer in that we can now talk to who's at the gate. We can see we already had a camera down here. Now we've got another one. We're going to take the old one and put it somewhere else. But that's all there is to it. All right, so as I'm walking back up here to the house to get the drill from the garage, to just make sure those screws are in there as far as they can go, I'm going to share a couple things with you in closing. Actually, had an Amazon guy show up, different one, to deliver a package while I was mounting this camera down here. Talked to him for just a couple minutes, friendly guy, but he had to rush. He was a professional doing his job. I gave him the short version of what happened the other night with the guy that was casing the places out and coming up, opening the gate. He shook his head. He says, I don't know why anybody who does what I do would do that. I can't explain that. I said, me neither. Why do you think I'm down here putting up more cameras? And I told him, for those of you who think I've exposed my neighbors, I said, you need to spread the word to your coworkers that everybody out here knows what's going on, and they need to be prepared if they are courageous enough to just open people's gates and go back there, especially after dark. He says, I'll spread the word. Number 2, I want to tell you, I got a comment last night in the original video, and a woman said that she thinks a lot like me, and her kids tell her that she just worries too much. There's, no need to be prepared and all those things. And so she said that it was nice to find my video to see that she wasn't crazy. And I'm going to tell you what I told her. I said, listen, there's nothing crazy about being prepared. And because I'm prepared, I never worry. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks to all of our new subscribers. Welcome here to the greatest homesteading channel on the planet that typically doesn't even have anything to do with homesteading off the grid. And we'll see you all for more next time.